The Big Bang Notable Book List showcases titles expanding the universe of young minds, one read at a time. Imprints at Holiday House and Simon & Schuster already submitted their titles. Have you? Submit your books for free for a chance to be featured. Learn more at thestorytellersshelfpodcast.com/submissions.
Hi, storytellers, and welcome back to the Storyteller Shelf podcast. It's Jackie here with Teresa, and we are filming another episode of Middle Grade Marvels, where we get to know the author behind the middle grade read. And today we're joined by children's book author Donna Galanti. Donna, can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Jackie, thank you so much for that fun introduction. I'm Donna Galanti. I'm a children's book author, although I started out writing thrillers for adults, actually, and moved into middle grade. I just love the middle grade space. Started out writing fantasy, fell in love with contemporary. So I just love creating characters, and I always infuse my books with nature because I'm a huge nature lover. I volunteer for the Audubon Society and the Old Growth Forest Network. So I'm always off in the woods. If you can't find me, I'm disappeared off in the woods or kayaking or biking. So that's pretty much me. I'm either hiking or I'm writing.
I love that. I'm a nature person as well. Like we love going and doing stuff like that all the time, like me and my husband and our kiddos. If you were a superhero, what would be your superhero name and why?
This is such a fun question. So, as I mentioned, I'm a nature lover and I love the woods, and a fox is my favorite animal. I'm always looking for foxes. We have a lot of foxes here where I live in Pennsylvania. So, I'm going to go with Fierce Fox Girl. That would be my name.
Okay, I love Fierce Fox Girl. The alliteration is there, starred, bright and lights. It's awesome, and I love foxes too. We have one that lives in our backyard. Okay, if you're not on YouTube, you're missing out on all of the great stuff we're showing on camera. Donna just pulled out a little fox statue. That's so cool. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is inspiration for writing. So, what inspired you to write for middle graders? And how do you tap into the perspective for this age group when you're creating your stories?
I fell in love with writing middle grade because I just think it's such a special time in a child's life. They have one foot is still in the magical part of childhood, one foot heading into young adulthood. And it's a time I remember that I could still believe in magic. And it's also a time I think where kids are very complex because there's so many contrasting things going on. They want to have their own identity and belong and make their own choices. Going gets tough. They really want somebody to make them feel safe and make the tough choices for them. And so they're complex, right? They yearn to grow up, but then they want to be taken care of. And they want to be loyal to their family, but they also want to be with their friends. So it's a really interesting character set to write from. And so I tap into that. I actually go back and read my childhood journals, my childhood diaries to really immerse myself in that young voice. Sometimes it's sad and to go back and read, the trials and tribulations that I was going through at the time that seemed so life or death, right? When you're a tween, everything is so dramatic. But I also love to look at pictures from when I was a young girl and remember what was going on outside the edge of those pictures and journal in that time. And I also read a lot of middle grade as well. And I'm a big brother, big sister. So I connected with my little sister when she was 9, and I thought, oh, I'm going to help this little girl, right, and help her in her life. It was totally the other way around. She brought so much joy to my life, and she showed me how to be spontaneous, and we didn't need to make plans. We could just drive around and make up songs and look at the clouds in the sky, and it was so magical being with her in that 9-year-old space. And then as she continued to grow as well. So, yeah, so many ways to tap into writing for middle grade.
I agree. I think it is the best part of both worlds. Where I like how you put it, where one foot is in the elementary level and then into young adulthood. So you get like the magical part. And I too write fantasy, so I love that. I think that even if you're an adult, you can appreciate middle grade, I think, more, where you can still have make believe and you can still go in that path. What's one moment or scene from your latest middle grade book that you absolutely love, and why does it stand out to you?
Ooh, I just want to preface it with a little segue, The Chronicles of Narnia. That is actually why I became a writer. I was 7 years old. We were living in England at the time, and I discovered The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and sucked down the whole series. And that was it. I was like, I'm going to write books, and they're going to be fantasy. And I still have my first story. It was a flying ship and a wizard and a dodo bird. And my mom kept all my stories, so I still have them. But as far as Loon Cove Summer, there's so many scenes that I enjoyed writing in the book. There's so much of me in the book, so it was a very emotional journey for me. The setting is my childhood setting. My parents owned and operated a campground in New Hampshire. And so that is the setting in the book. And I went back and did a research trip for the book, too. So that was a very emotional, nostalgic trip. But I think the one scene in the book, and I don't want to give it, too much away, but there's this big kind of climactic scene where Sarah, the main character, has a battle of wills with nature. And being a nature lover, I know we can't control nature, as Sarah discovers. We can honor it and we can respect it and find the beauty in it, but we can't control it. And sometimes we just have to give ourselves up to it and do the best we can to survive. And so she has a lot of revelations in this moment when she has a battle of wills with nature on this mountain.
Okay, at this moment, I speak to the audience. If you are a Storyteller Shelf podcast stan and you've been hanging out with us for a few episodes now, you know that Teresa is obsessed with the Chronicles of Narnia. And now we have 2 for 2. So for everyone listening, please leave us a comment, send us a message, and tell us what The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe inspired you to do. And the answer for me is it made me want to try Turkish Delight. So yours might be way more profound than Jackie's. I think if you are one of the people who are like Donna and Teresa, you found your soul sisters, please come say hello. Okay, our next question. Middle grade literacy in the industry. What is one trend, challenge, or opportunity that you see in the world of middle grade literature today?
Well, there's actually 2, if I could throw 2 in there, because I've been seeing them a lot, and I think it's wonderful. We have so many more novels in verse, and we have so many more graphic novels. And I think this is wonderful because kids learn at all different paces and all different levels. And I think it's great to offer them different ways for them to read and to fall in love with story that fits their learning abilities and their way that they want to, take in story. So I love that we have so much more of that. They're not things that I gravitate towards creating, but I really respect other authors who are putting out more novels in verse and graphic novels as well. So I think it's so engaging for kids.
Yes, I like how you put it that there's a variety because I think at the end of the day, we're trying to help children read, have a love of reading. And I like how you said there's more books to be had, especially in middle grade. It seems like they're finally hearing authors saying, look, we need middle grade. And now that's trending more. I do want to ask this one question because, like, as an author, like you go back and you think, what if? Right? If you could travel back in time, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger creative self?
Ooh, that's a really tough one. Oh, there's so much advice, but what would I say to my younger self, that 7-year-old who started writing her first story? I would say enjoy the journey and explore and work on multiple projects. I've learned that as an author over the years, not to just have one book, have one project, one egg in the basket, but have multiple. I have 15 different books and 15 in different stages of revision and editing. And when one isn't working, I go back to another, whatever's calling me in the moment, because we evolve and we change and we grow as writers and what interests us changes. So I think that's what I would tell my younger self, to just explore, enjoy the journey, have fun, and work on as many different creative projects that calls to you.
That's beautiful advice. I think we're going to have you back to talk a little bit more about how to balance so many manuscripts at once, because I know I'm losing my head having just a couple. So we could use some professional advice here. What is one thing you'd like your readers to take away from your work or about you as an author?
Well, I recently discovered, probably 5 novels in, that I have a theme that runs through all my books, whether I write for grown-ups or for kids. And it was so evident, and I can't believe I didn't see it, but the theme is belonging. And in that word is longing, right? Longing to belong, which is something I always did as a young girl and a teen and even into adulthood because I'm adopted. I'm an only child and nobody in my family was adopted. None of my friends were. So I really felt an outsider. I felt I didn't belong. That was just my own perspective. So I really have discovered I infuse that in my stories with seeking belonging, seeking home. And that can be different for everybody. What does home mean to you? What does family mean to you? And I've learned that family is not just made by blood, but it's made by love and loyalty and friendship. And that's what I had to discover. And I think a lot of my characters in my story discovered that too. And even if your home is broken, your family is broken, like Sarah and Loon Cove Summer, and you can still put the pieces back together. And it may not look the same. It will look different, but it can still be beautiful and wonderful and full of love. And that's also, I think, what the loons represent in Loon Cove Summer, because the loons are disappearing on Sarah's lake. So she's been trying to bring an environmental scientist in to help discover why are the loons disappearing. And it has to do with environmental things that are still causing loons problems today. And so the loon families are being broken up too. Like Sarah's family is being broken up, but they can still come back together in a new way and find their journey together. And also, one thing I think Sarah learns in the story that I've had to learn is that it's great to have a dream, but it's even better when you can share that dream with people that you love and take it tenfold and collaborate together and expand that dream.
When you're talking about the themes in your most recent book, those are some pretty tough and deep themes. And I find that middle grade is one of the perfect target age groups to talk about things that are tough. But as a writer, how do you make sure that you balance writing a difficult theme with depth, but putting it in a way or putting it in a manner that a child of that age can really understand?
That's a really, really great question, Jackie. And it is a balance, like you said. For me, like with Loon Cove Summer, we have Sarah who's grieving her mom and her dad is away during the week because he has to work an extra job to make money. So she's living with her uncle, helping take care of this campground. And what I did to add some lightness to the story was I added different quirky characters into the campground, the permanent residents who live there. They all have different personalities. They add lightness and humor to the story, so that helps her along. Also, I gave Sarah friends because I think that's what middle graders need in their story. You know, life is easier on your hard journey when you have friends to support you and elevate you and make you laugh and help you see that you're not alone in this world, right? No matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, there's always somebody there that you can count on and go to. You don't have to go it alone. So, yeah, I think bringing lightness in helps to balance things like grief and loss and other hard topics in middle grade. So it's not so heavy.
That was really well said. And speaking of Sarah's uncle, can you tell us a little bit more about the picture behind you in your office and how that inspired some of your book?
Absolutely. Can you see the whole thing? I don't know if you can see it there, but there's my great uncle Elmer. So, yes, he was a huge inspiration for Loon Cove Summer. When he was in his 60s, back in the 60s, he through hiked the entire Appalachian Trail, all 2,200 plus miles, eating berries and nuts. His wife would drop packages along the trail. And he had a trail journal that I read that was an amazing account that just really inspired me to have a trail journal in the book. Late mother left her the journal, and so she's reading one page a day to kind of keep her mother alive with this journal. And funny enough, my great uncle Elmer got to the last 5 miles of the trail and he couldn't finish because there was a huge snowstorm that blew in on Mount Katahdin and Baxter State Park in Maine. And so he had to go back the next year and finish that last 5 miles. So in the story, Sarah's mother also got snowed in and couldn't finish the trail. So one of Sarah's dreams is to take over her mother's dream and finish that trail for her. And that's kind of how she gets into some reckless trouble by the choices that she makes. So he was a great inspiration. When he came off the trail, my mom said he stopped at their house and just wanted a fried chicken dinner. And he slept on the floor because he was so used to sleeping on the ground, he couldn't sleep on the bed. I think that I don't know about you, but I bring so much of myself into my stories. There's so many conversations in Loon Cove Summer that I actually had with my dad because we were navigating grief when my mom passed away. And the loons, too. I grew up with loons, and they're one of the oldest birds. They go back like 35 million years. They have the most haunting melody. If you've never heard a loon, it just will put an ache in your heart to hear their wails and their yodels and their tremolos. They're so beautiful and haunting. So I had to include them in my story too. And speaking of personal stuff in your stories too, my next book, which comes out in March, The Secret Winners Club, is about 3 kids who have autoimmune disorders that are visible. And I have 5 autoimmune disorders. So I wanted to write a book about kids who also, again, seeking belonging. They look different because of their skin conditions and they want to be known for more than that. So they actually create the Secret Winners Club to help each other become number 1 in their school clubs like theater and swim club and jump bot club, and hope people will see them as winners and not just with these skin conditions. But then along the way, they hurt people, they cross a line, and they discover that doing that makes them even more visible and an outsider. So again, the theme with belonging and identity, I just realized came into that book too.
Wow, it's kind of that saying where they say, write what you know as a writer, and that feeling of belonging as a writer, because you're trying to speak to your audience, and everyone's audience is sort of different, and it doesn't matter the genre or the subgenre, but you're trying to speak to your people. This was so much fun. When your next book comes out, you need to let us know. But thank you so much, Donna, for sharing your story, for sharing your amazing books, and for being with us today on Middle Grade Marvels. And to all of our listeners, thanks for making it this far.
Thank you, Teresa and Jackie, so much for having me.
If you enjoy this episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and share this with a friend because we know that other people out there could use this too. And one last thing, if you like freebies, definitely join us in our email newsletter. Pop your email in, it's for free. We don't spam you, but we occasionally send things like career opportunities, awards and contests, and handy dandy things like pitch guides and query guides that you might find very useful. So otherwise, we will let you go today, and we'll see you again next time.
This episode of the Storyteller Chef podcast is brought to you by Harney & Sons Fine Teas, a perfect companion to every story. Whether you're reading, writing, or just enjoying a quiet moment to yourself, Harney & Sons offers a beautiful selection of teas to elevate this experience. From classic blends to unique finds, every cup is crafted with care, just like the stories we love to share. Shop harney.com/discount/storyteller, and storyteller is in all caps. Now let's get back to the show.